Hey, YouTube and Facebook, this is Paul, the Death Scouter, making another video for the Death Scouter YouTube channel. Hey, like and subscribe. I've got a ton of great videos, theories, lessons, and examples like this one using Microsoft Excel, where we put the numbers behind the theory and separate the beef from the bowl. Today, I have an upgraded video. I did this video about 3.5 years ago. I'm going to upgrade it for you today. I think I could do a little better job and upgrade it with current IRS limits for IRA contributions. But we're going to focus this video on demonstrating the power of compounding interest over time. And most importantly, I'm going to do a couple of what if scenarios. What if I contribute more? What if I contribute at a different age? And what if I earn a different rate of return? How do these variables actually impact my overall wealth creation years and years and years into the future? So remember, the secret to wealth creation in America is this formula called compounding interest over time, which means every year you're getting interest on the interest that you earned each previous year. So interest on your interest on your interest. That is, for those of you who may not realize it, an exponential growth of money, compounding on money, and it can catapult you into wealth and financial stability. So, if you're not familiar with an Excel worksheet or what a worksheet does, hold the phone. I'm going to walk you through that right now. This is simply a program or a tool on the computer where mathematical formulas are plugged in already. And if I just update these couple of fields, all the changes will automatically cascade down the entire worksheet, and we can see at a glance the results of these what if scenarios. So let me just show you how this works. I've picked $4,000, which is the United States national average of people contributing to their IRA or individual retirement account. 10% is the standard return of the US stock market over any 10-year period. Now, yes, for the skeptics out there are zero banks that will pay you a 10% interest rate unless inflation goes really crazy. No banks are paying 10% interest, but you can get a 10% return in price appreciation in the stock market. And that is a very realistic number. So, those of you who are naysayers at this point, stop. You've just not been taught what's really happening. And then I'm going to continue making $4,000 investments every year for the rest of my life. And I'm going to start this for a person who is about 30 years old. And those numbers simply cascade down into this worksheet where my starting amount, my growth rate, annual growth gets calculated, right? 10% of $4,000 is 400. And all these numbers get added together into a year ending number, in which I then break out how much came out of my pocket and how much is what I like to call free money. And who doesn't like free money? The year ending number simply comes down and becomes the year starting number for the following year. And the math applies again, this time adding in my annual $4,000 contribution and totaling a year ending number, and which I then break out again. Now, couple of things to notice. Notice that only in 2 years, you're already seeing the power of compound interest work for you. The first year, I got 10% on $4,000. But when I add in the $400 that I earned, I'm now going to get 10% on the $4,400 that's in my account. So my yearly growth number gets bigger and it will continue to get bigger. And that is the power of compounding interest over time. I'm going to show you this slide and jump right to it. Our goal is to participate in what's called the hockey stick graph. Now, the hockey stick graph shows us visually what's happening mathematically. So, your contributions for many years are all subjected to the exact same formula for compound interest over time. So it doesn't matter what age you get started, and it doesn't matter um, how much you have in your account or what your contributions are. What matters is that there comes a point, and I'm going to put my mouse on there so that you can see it. There comes a point after years and years of the same growth calculations on an almost flat line that's not very exciting, that suddenly the graph goes straight up. Exponential growth of interest on all the previous year's interest. So this is the graph that we all want to play in. So when people say you should start investing as early as possible, there's truth to that, because what we're trying to do is it not cost a lot of money out of your monthly budget just to get to this point where the math starts to yield pretty amazing results, right? So you can start later and put bigger chunks of money in if it's part of your budget, or you can start earlier and allow you to put less amount of money in out of your budget. But the key is that somehow, some way, somewhere, you want to get to this magical point where the formula for compounding interest starts to go up, 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 up exponentially. So now that you understand what we're trying to do and how this formula is crazy when it comes to year after year results, let's go ahead, get rid of the graph, and look at the actual numbers. Okay, so $4,000 to start, $4,000 every year, earning 10% every year. What happens to this 30-year-old when they turn 65? At age 65, they will have $1.2 million. You really want to be shocked? Look at this. Out of that $1.2 million, don't know why I did that. Out of that $1.2 million, only 144,000 came out of your pocket. 1,063,000 is free money. So yes, regardless of your income, it is safe to say you're probably not going to save your way into being a millionaire. You must have your money working for you to get that free money from the result of compounding interest over time. Right? So now that you understand that millionaire status is quite doable at a modest income, because you can come up with $4,000 a year, I know you can. Let's take one of the what if scenarios. What if I think the stock market is too risky and I don't want to risk 10% a year? I'm happy to settle for bonds that pay 5% and are much more predictable. What does being safe, air quotes, actually cost me? Well, if I'm earning half the return, will I end up with half the money? Right? So instead of 1.2 million at age 65, do I end up at 600,000? Let's take a look. Age 65 at 5% return. Am I at 600,000? No, no. I am only at 384,000. Still the same $144,000 out of my pocket, but instead of 1,070 something thousand 1,070 something thousand dollars profit, I've only profited 240,000. A quarter of what I would have had if I were in stock. So half, and this is the magic of the exponential formula, half the return translates to a quarter of the results. So this is not linear, this is exponential. So really, if you are a young person, and I am not here to dictate your risk tolerance, but you do need to understand that by weathering the storm of the up and down markets over time, the larger returns are there for you in the stock market. So what would we do if we changed from 4,000 a year to the IRS current maximum for 2025 of $7,000 a year. So, what if you were able to max out your IRA contributions? Well, $7,000 a year in the exact same stock fund at age 65. How are we doing? Are we at 1.2 million? No, we're at 2.1 million. Instead of 144,000 out of our pocket, where it's 252,000, but we got 1.8, almost 1.9 million in free money. So jumping from 1.2 million to 2.1 million is pretty darn good. So we saw that scenario, right? So scenario number one is, what if I get safer in my investment choices? Scenario number two is, what if I max out my 401k or my IRA contributions? And the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go back to the national average of $4,000. You see how that auto cascades down the worksheet. And what if I do this at age 20 instead? Now remember, the age column is the only thing that's changing in this equation. If you're not age 20 or you're not age 30 and you want to know what these numbers will be for you, you can just take a look at these year numbers here, right? And the numbers, the math will be the same. But for a 20-year-old learning how to do this for the first time, at age 65, will you have 1.2 million? My God, no. You're at 3.2 million. So just 10 years difference. Executing on this knowledge can yield you $3,012,000 in free money. So these are the what if scenarios that are so much fun to play with, and it emphasizes all the aspects that we talked about. Get started early so that yearly growth number, and take a look at these numbers, by the way. Look how fast these numbers really start to grow. Okay, really big numbers, generating hundreds of thousands a year free and automatically. And if we didn't focus on this already, I'm going to show you this one last number, and then I'm going to stop the video. At a 10% return by year number 9, your annual yearly growth is exceeding your contributions. So start early, put as much as you can in, and in the future, when your returns are double what you're putting in, triple what you were putting in, honestly, you could stop. You can use your money for other things, even though I wouldn't recommend that. But there comes a point where your growth numbers make your contributions pale in comparison. Folks, this is Paul, the Death Scouter. I hope this really energized you to get started and help you understand the power and the wealth creating emphasis that the formula for compounding interest over time actually plays in your future. And of course, all the variables and the what ifs. Have any questions? Hit me up online. I'm always there to answer questions. Thanks for watching.